Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the New to Wrestling podcast. This week, we watched the May 5th, 1997 edition of Raw is War, and the match card is as follows. In our opener, we had Rockabilly taking on Ahmed Johnson. Vader takes on Goldust with Marlena. Crush goes through a kind of mini gauntlet match in anticipation for the Ahmed Johnson gauntlet match at the pay-per-view. Doug Furnas and Philip LaFawn get a rematch from last week against the Legion of Doom, and Stone Cold Steve Austin takes on the British Bulldog in our main event.
Girl.
All right, let's do it. This is the final stop on the way to the Cold Day in Hell pay-per-view, and it showed. Once again, we usually the final stop before a pay-per-view is marred by chaos, and this is no exception, I guess I should say. So we get a recap from last week and the many prayers of Brian Pillman, and then they kind of just go through the rest of last week's Raw is War like an episode of 24, which is like a timestamp, and then
It
just
was
like,
really crazy.
like shaky cam events, you know. So we have the entire situation of last week where the Hart Foundation was praying, thanking each other, calling Stone Cold out, attacking Stone Cold here and there, promising that he was going to end up on the ambulance that Bret Hart strolled in on, even though it's not a mode of transportation, Bret. And so so we get the recap, and then so we're all on the same page as to where we are now, which is once again starting an episode with the entire Hart Foundation just making their way into the ring. Essentially, Bret Hart goes and thanks all of the fans all over the world, with the exception of the American fans, to which he quotes their hero, Shawn Michaels, and says, "Tough titties to the kitty," and moves on.
I'm glad they brought it back because
Right.
it was hard to believe it happened in the first place. So just that affirmation that I didn't make that fever dream up in my mind it was a little bit of a thrill. And I will say the entire Hart Foundation was wearing their own individual merch. Like
Yes.
Owen was wearing an Owen shirt and Bulldog was wearing it, but like with their faces on it. It was like so honestly love.
It's not uncommon with wrestlers, but I feel like the trend of like wearing your own merch really kicks off in this era. Like,
I mean, I haven't seen any of them do it before. Like,
Stone Cold wears his own merch all the time.
Oh, well, Stone Cold, yes. But that's like the Austin 316 for some reason doesn't feel like merch to me other than more so it's like a creed. Because also he hates everybody who does it. He's like, no, this is my thing. So it doesn't feel as like merchy. Like, and especially because of Stone Cold, it doesn't
he's like the number one merch seller.
But he literally does like reverse psychology. He's like, I hate when you guys wear my merch, and they're like, we should buy some.
No,
but also me,
no,
I have a
literally,
Stone Cold shirt.
He's like, no, I hate it, guys, stop.
And then he's like, oh, look at this sea of Austin 316.
Oh my god, he's like the Gross sisters in the Proud Family.
Ooh.
If you don't understand that reference, you're just gonna have to go and just relive.
She's too young for you, bro. She's too young for you, bro.
Honestly. So my favorite part of this little congratulatory speech is when Bret goes, I'd like to congratulate and thank my brother Owen, and Owen immediately just like, woo! I live for every time. It's just so goofy. I live for him. And then we get the kind of introduction or reintroduction, depending on how you know him, of Jim the Anvil Neidhart. As longtime wrestling fans know, originally the Hart Foundation was Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, managed by Jimmy Hart, unrelated, but technically the Hart Foundation was named after the former manager of the group, not Bret Hart. Fun facts, because it involved other people. There were other people in the Hart Foundation outside of the Hart family back in the day, because they were all managed by Jimmy Hart. So fun facts for you all.
Okay,
for those of you who did not know. So this iteration is really just based around the Hart family, and the other manager is often the former manager is often WCW. So living his best life. Yeah, he went over in and around the same time that Hulk Hogan went over. It was kind of like a
See.
package kind of deal. So
I see. I see.
mhm.
Fascinating.
So we get the reintroduction of Jim the Anvil Neidhart. He is pretty much the only like consistent tag team partner that Bret Hart really has had in his like career. That is his
Okay.
like they've won many tag team championships together. And we're talking like the early like WrestleMania like 2, WrestleMania like they were on those shows. Um
Dang.
and it really was in those eras as like a tag team is kind of where we learned a lot about Bret Hart and kind of how we saw Bret Hart transition from tag team wrestler to like that mid card in intercontinental championship into the main event person that like takes over from Hulk Hogan.
Mm.
And that all kind of stems from the OG Hart Foundation. So basically, Bret Hart is just going off on Stone Cold Steve Austin, basically saying, "Look, like we did exactly what we said we were going to do. Like we told you, like I told you from the jump that we were going to get him." And the great American scum, Stone Cold, didn't want to believe it, so we did what we had to do. And then he's like, basically goes on to be like, but I know like you're not done seeing me like beat people up. So like
Crazy.
we're gonna turn our attention to the your next great American hero, the boy toy, Shawn Michaels. And basically, yeah, so basically they call out Shawn Michaels for all of the things that we already know that Bret dislikes Shawn Michaels for, just dancing around, being flamboyant, running his mouth. Um, and essentially the gist of the rest of the promo is that Bret Hart has all of this like pack of lions and it's time for him to unleash them and watch out Shawn. So that's basically the gist on the promo.
Mm.
Thoughts after seeing kind of like now you have the full kind of picture of the Hart Foundation. Any thoughts?
Brian Pillman feels like he doesn't fit. Like if it's like one of these things is not like the other, it's Brian.
Yes, I agree.
Very he kind of and he in this episode, he kind of plays like the role as like Bret Hart's like aide. Like
Yes.
you would have for like your grandparent. Like
Mm.
he's always like next to the wheelchair and he's like, "Oh yeah," like holding his hand like, "Yeah, grandpa, look at this on TV." Like it's very odd. Like
Mm-hmm,
I don't
mm-hmm.
know why specifically. He just doesn't to me doesn't fit. I mean, I'm excited to see the
Maybe because
anvil
he's the only one not like literally related to
related.
them.
That's also probably true. I would yeah. I mean, I guess the kiss ass energy that he possesses is very appropriate for the situation,
Hmm.
but I'm excited to see the anvil because I've never seen him wrestle before. So I'm excited
Right.
to see him like back in the fold. He has the most insane goatee I've ever seen. Well,
Hmm.
maybe not ever
Hmm.
seen, but it's definitely top five. And yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what happens because like the heel faction is fully formed and
Hmm.
I am fascinated by the faction kind of thing, especially because I feel like I'm excited to see one in like full operation because Nation of Domination really is like it feels like they still have the training wheels on. I don't really
Hmm.
know. And like they might be dissolved by the next pay-per-view. Who knows?
Right.
So I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens. It still sometimes gets me that Bret Hart is a heel. So
Hmm.
sometimes makes me like boohoo a little bit,
I
but
get that. I get that.
it's growing on me. It's growing on me.
No, and we will have to go back just because we'll have to go back and really get those like those highlight moments of like Brett's career so that you really get the kind of experience of enjoying Brett as like the babyface champion
Yes,
because
because I really didn't
he
get
is
that.
very good at that. Like he really is uh so like while this is fun to see him kind of like take the uh the moral bumpers off, I guess we'll put it that way.
Mm.
It is, you can appreciate it more if you saw like all of the like baby face moments that he had before.
Right.
But again, we're gonna see this faction is involved in everything, so it is kind of fun to see like this unravel. Not gonna lie,
For
because there
sure.
are enough people in the faction that they can literally be involved in the show top to bottom, and it doesn't feel like super exhausting. So I'll give it
Yeah, that's very true. That's a good point for sure.
So our first match, we had Ahmed Johnson taking on Rockabilly with the Honky Tonk Man. Ahmed Johnson coming out in not his like normal wrestling attire, very much just like an all black kind of ensemble.
Like tracksuit kind of
Yeah.
thing, except with no top. It was just the pants.
Which like I don't know if they were just like didn't tell him he was wrestling that day and they're like, get in there, like get ready. Or he just like lost his normal wrestling gear on the plane, or like what happened, but
He said, "I'm gonna do it.
he said, I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna do it."
Basically, Rockabilly like couldn't get out of the blocks like for the first like I want to say like 2-3 minutes of the match. Like he couldn't even take off his
Yeah,
jacket because Ahmed Johnson was just all over him.
on him.
And
Yeah,
honestly, I lived for it. We love to see
same.
it because, as we know, Kelsey and I do not stand Rockabilly. We are not here for
No,
Rockabilly.
no.
We think Rockabilly is a royal mistake.
Fully the most royal mistake, really.
So we do get a kind of cutaway interview with Farouk. And basically they ask him if he's been impressed with Ahmed Johnson thus far in the match. He's like, no, I've never been impressed by Ahmed Johnson.
Which is kind of funny. I'm not
It's
gonna.
like, what kind of stupid question is that? It's like,
Could you imagine? Farouk was like, "Yeah, kinda." No, he's like, "I've like literally never been impressed. Don't ever suggest that." That's so
100%.
funny.
And then he goes on to be like, and later we're gonna show like just how ill prepared he is for the challenge that he has coming his way, because Crush is gonna take on three of the, and these are his words, not mine, the biggest, baddest ghetto men that I could find. And you're just like, I don't know what it means. And honestly, no follow-up questions because I'm sure you're gonna fill me in because I can't.
Yeah, Vince was just like, "Thank you for your time."
No, no,
And Xavier
literally,
was like, "That's all he was able to say to
yeah,
that. That's all
that's
you can say to that. That's all
no.
you can say to that."
You're just like, okay, sure.
Sure.
We will meet those ghetto men later. Like,
But
that's it.
but
Like,
like
that's it.
also spoiler alert, they were none of those things. They were
None of
definitely
those
not the
things.
biggest, baddest, or like
Like, none of those. No,
none of those
actually.
things. But
Uh,
okay, thank you.
No, literally. The match continues. Rockabilly does get a couple licks in because, he is a decent enough wrestler.
He's a
But
wrestler.
JR has this moment on commentary where he goes, if Rockabilly and the Honky Tonk Man like work out the kinks in their communication, they could really be like a force to be reckoned with in the WWF. And in the moment he finished the sentence, Kelsey and I just both looked at each other like that's crazy. Force is
Of
crazy.
course, that is not correct.
I was like, force gives me like natural disaster, like typhoon, like I was like,
Hurricane,
I, I
tornado.
was like, it's like a maybe a sprinkle, a mist.
Yeah, maybe like a sun shower. Like
Right.
it's definitely it gives more like a fly that's kind of annoying. Like in
Yes.
as opposed to a force. But it's funny because we were like a force and then we are like, but the way JR said it, like he didn't believe it either. Like he knew that was a lie and
No,
it
he was
hurt him
like,
a little to say it. He's like,
mm-hmm.
they will be a force to be reckoned
Right.
with. And we're like,
It was like, it's more like you will be forced to
to
watch.
reckon with them. Yeah. To
Like,
observe the
um,
dancing, and that's horrible.
it's so bad. It is so bad. Every time that Billy Gunn just stoops to this level where he just
Mm,
it looks like a video game that's like glitching. Like it just
a
doesn't look
full-on body glitch.
like
He's like full-on stimming at the
yo, but honestly though, the man has like zero control over his limbs because it's just
No.
it's so bad. And like the thing is like I feel like he knows because he doesn't, it's never it's always like three jerky movements and then he moves on immediately. As in, like, I'm
Yes.
fulfilling my contractual obligation to do this stupid little dance and then I'm moving on.
Well, I think that's why it's also so bad because I feel like he also hates it. Like if there
Right.
is no he does not feel there is no joy there. Like I feel like he's
Mm,
like I just don't want to lose my job. So this is
right.
what I'm doing
Right.
and that also sucks cuz like I just don't believe him
Right. I
because I
don't
wouldn't
buy it.
like it either. Like who would? Who would
No. No.
It's
So
just so bad.
So the match continues, and at one point, the Honky Tonk Man climbs up onto the apron to distract the referee, and that is when Rockabilly goes over to the opposite corner of the ring, where they have strategically placed the guitar that they're always touting about, even though I've never, and I mean never, seen either one of them successfully play a chord, a note. But you know,
Mm.
they're playing that, you know, douchey college guy at the college at the campus, just carrying around the guitar for no reason.
Anyway, here's
And
Wonderwall.
so, God, not
Please.
Wonderwall.
Anything with that. I hate that you all ruined that song.
So Billy goes and grabs the guitar, and he is about to nail Ahmed Johnson with it when all of a sudden the referee turns around. Ahmed Johnson, in that moment, rips the guitar from Rockabilly's hands and smashes it over Rockabilly's head with a force that I wish had knocked some sense into him. Like that, just,
It
I
should have.
it should have. He hit him so hard. I wanted him to like it was cartoon birds, and I wanted him to wake up and just be like, I don't know this man. In
I've
regards to
never
the
seen him
honky
in
tonk,
my
I don't
life.
know
No,
this man.
for
I've never seen this
real.
man.
For
Like,
real, like the vow, like just complete memory loss. Like I
no,
don't even, but it was so hard that the sense was knocked out of him and then also thusly back in. Like
no,
that's how
100%.
hard he was hit. He
Hmm.
forgot and remembered within the same millisecond.
No,
That's how
100%.
hard. And they showed it 14 times from 40 different angles,
As
thank
they should.
God.
As they
And it
should.
was like the way the guitar disintegrated on impact. Ahmed Johnson, you would think that Rockabilly like punched his mother in the face. Like this
No,
felt
actually.
like vengeance for what? I do not know, but I was delighted to behold it.
No,
It was insane.
I no, I 100% agree because the way that we hate this combo
Yep.
and the way that like we screamed, or I screamed, I should say, I was laughing like from my belly when he was struck with the guitar because it was so good.
It's
i
so
was
good.
I was thoroughly impressed. So
Yep.
then we cut to the Hart Foundation, who is just on a mad scramble, like hunt for Shawn Michaels. They're just opening locker room doors, just kind of I don't know. You can kind of tell this is the first time any of them have been told to like vamp for the camera, you know, where you have to be like just kind of say things to like fill the
Bill.
space. It felt very forced. Like very
Yes.
forced. Yeah, just lots of like you hear the same dialogue in like the Power Rangers, you know, like where they're like, get him, yeah, he's over there, and you're like, oh my god, like
I bet he went behind that rock.
and
Yeah,
you're
like
like,
all of that.
I
And
was
you're
like,
like,
why is this so like expositor? Like, we good? Like, I'm okay. Um,
very, very
but so
strange.
they are on a mad hunt for Shawn Michaels. Granted, he's really not that hard to find. He's kind of
Mm.
loud. So like, I don't.
Oh, he's
I,
very loud. You're saying he's loud, flagrant, always dancing, always present, of like a beacon in the night, and
and
y'all
then
can't
all of a
find
sudden they're
him?
like,
They're like, put up the bat signal. Where he at? Like, I am
no,
confuzzled. Like, what is
one
going on?
hundred percent.
And I love that well, we'll get to it, but they never explain like where he was. He just like comes out at some point and is just like, guess they missed what room I was in. I don't know.
Right.
So funny.
So next we get a promo from Ken Shamrock. It is like the second one, I guess,
It's
in
more like
in
a documentary series at
yeah,
this
it's like
point. Yeah.
yeah, promo's generous. But yeah, so basically it talks about just him being like a troubled youth, and how he used his anger to kind of propel him in the like sports world. And then we meet his like mentor father figure type dude. And basically he goes on to just be like, I gave him the blueprint and some of the tools, and he built himself into like whatever he is today.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to we kind of get a sense of like who or like what is important to Ken Shamrock, and we learned that like he comes from a very broken home kind of situation, so he puts a lot of emphasis on family, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where the whole like hating the bully thing kind of stems from, or at least that's what
Right.
we're like led to believe, which is
Mm-hmm.
I guess admirable, sure.
I know I have to look this up because I really know nothing about him, and I know nothing about his apparently broken past. I would love to look this up. So I will investigate the deep dark past of Ken Shamrock and
LOL.
see what cuz but at some point they were like he was like living on the streets and his brothers were scattered in the wind and he had no
Yeah.
parents. Like I have to figure this out because this is insane. And then he like they gave the whole analogy of like and he pulled himself up from his bootstraps and made himself alive. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, wow,
I was
crazy.
like, I mean, that's great, but like, sure. But
Hmm.
so we get all of that. And again, we haven't really seen much of Ken Shamrock as far as like in a ring at all goes. So we kind of have to rely on these promos to kind of get a sense of who he is or and kind of the why behind this match.
Right.
Because like up until this, not like specifically, like there hasn't really been that much build up as far as those two specifically are concerned, with the exception of last week,
Hmm.
where he like kind of
Exactly.
called him out and then they were kind of getting in each other's face.
Yeah.
And then Ken Shamrock saved JR. Why? I don't know. From Vader, even though JR deserved it.
No, fully. We don't have to get into it because we already talked about it last week, but 100%. So,
Deserved every bit of it. So our next match is Vader taking on Goldust. Essentially, we find out that the pay-per-view match on Sunday from or between Vader and Ken Shamrock can only be won by submission or knockout. So there's going to be no pinfalls,
crazy.
no seemingly no disqualifications.
That's pretty
So
crazy.
that is very much kind of plays to what Ken Shamrock is used to. There are no, pinfalls in Ultimate Fighting situations. So
That's
it
true.
is
That's
kind of
true.
more maybe to make it an easier transition for him. But that dems the breaks for the match on Sunday.
Mm.
Ken Shamrock then comes out and joins the commentary table, and we find out that somebody has stolen the WWF title from the locker room of The Undertaker.
Could you imagine?
Bold. Bold.
Bold. What is wrong with you?
First of
That
all,
is insanity.
in my brain, like the Undertaker just like is like straight up like a vampire, just like in a coffin, like you know what I mean?
Or like
Uh,
up like suspended upside down from the ceiling like a bat and
no,
he's like just clutching it and you have to do like a switcheroo.
no,
Like you have to
yeah,
like
like like
like
Indiana
Indiana
Jones.
Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, you got it because
fantastic.
that's the only way.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Ken Shamrock on commentary basically just goes like Vader relies on like intimidation and whatever to get through to whoever he needs to get through, but he's gonna find out with me that I am not one to be pushed around. And very much so does not seem the type. So I am very interested to see how upset Vader gets that Ken Shamrock is not intimidated by him in
Yeah,
a match
that's a good
setting.
point.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
I'm very curious to see this dynamic because I
mhm.
feel like putting Ken Shamrock in one of his very first matches, I know he had those little like whatever they call them expositions or
Exhibitions.
exhibitions, thank you. But he hasn't actually been in like a match and putting him in his like very first match against Vader,
Mhm.
I feel like is wild. So I'm very curious to see how this goes.
It is wild, and it's also goes to show kind of how much they are already impressed by him.
Yes,
Because
that's true.
I think they would have gone the like Rocky Maivia route and like just had him like debut face kind of people that were a little bit lower on the card and then eventually like
Right.
work his way up.
That makes sense
So
to
the
me.
fact that they like are kind of treating it like he can kind of like skip the line a little bit as far as like his progression goes, as far as who he's facing, um, shows that they have some confidence in his just ability. Just because
Hmm.
he is a freak athlete.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like it. It's crazy. Even when he was like, they had him at like his son's baseball game and just in a normal setting, I was like, he is so scary.
Right.
Like, even in t-shirts and like little shorts, he was just like,
Beef. Honestly, like wrestlers in like outside of the context of like wrestling, crazy. They all look crazy to me. Like,
Yeah, it's like beyond the scope of even comprehending like that's a real person.
fully. Um, so Vader at one point squishes Goldust. He, just gives him the big old butt squish. And then immediately gets in Ken Shamrock's face. And that's kind of just the theme of this match is Vader's really like not super paying attention to Goldust, or yeah, not super like paying attention to Goldust, is kind of very much so very focused on Ken Shamrock. Um, I wrote this down because I just thought it was really funny that for some reason, Ken Shamrock on commentary talking about Vader like kind of sounds like when you ask like a little kid to describe like a fight or something that happened at like school or like why they don't like a person, and he's just like, I dislike him very much, and you're like,
Yeah, no, fully.
Okay, it just
I
was like,
don't like that guy.
yeah, it just felt very like that when you're just like, you're a grown man, put some oomph into it, like give me
Yeah.
something, like,
Something. It felt like he was very much like scuffing the dirt. Like, I don't like that guy.
yeah, and like exactly,
He's
and
a
it's just like,
bully.
I dislike him very much, and you're like, that's well too well spoken
Mm,
for what I
mm-hmm,
want.
mm-hmm,
um
mm-hmm.
Basically he's then asked like if how he would like to win the match with Vader, and he's like, oh, I want to make him tap out. I want to embarrass him. And I was like, yes, go
Mm-hmm.
with that, go with
Yeah,
that.
yes, let's
I
lean
was like,
into
I just
that.
like him very much isn't doing it, but like
Mm-mm.
I want to embarrass him on a national platform. Run with that.
That
That
one's
is
a good, that's a good one.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So Vader hits the Vader splash and picks up the victory, and Vader calls Ken Shamrock into the ring. Ken Shamrock's really just like kind of like not taking the bait immediately. He gets up, but that's when Vader then proceeds to spit in Ken Shamrock's face. Ken Shamrock goes, enough of that, takes off the headphone, immediately gets in the ring, and
Yep.
double leg takedowns Vader, crazy,
Crazy.
450 pounds, just both his legs. And then they
Insane.
start wailing on each other. And then all of a sudden, which was actually kind of very surprising because I kind of forgot like the association, because again, I never thought that they should have been
Completely forgot.
associated.
Mm-hmm.
So Mankind comes in and starts ripping Ken Shamrock off of Vader, and then Goldust comes around and like re inserts himself into this skirmish. So Goldust and Mankind are taking each other out. Ken Shamrock's taking out Vader. It's a mess.
A mess.
And
Unbelievable. I
then
completely forgot Mankind and Vader were friends. I still
same.
do on a regular basis.
Because
Because why?
what are they friends about? Like what do they talk, what do you think they talk about?
I don't know. Did they like, because now that Paul is like, I don't know, crispy. Uh, I just can't. What do they talk about without Buffer Paul there? Like, did they come together in their grief over what happened to him over his
Mm-hmm.
tragic accident?
I guess. Well,
I
they have
can't imagine there's a lot of talking. It must just be like grunting.
from both?
Yes.
Because I feel like Mankind talks like a lot. Like I feel
Yes.
like Mankind just like is basically like just carrying around like a skull and just talking to it at all times. And Vader's just kind of like
I could see that.
lets him just do it. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
and
I was
until he's like too much, and then he just like pops him in the face and like exits the room.
honestly, I could see that family dynamic for sure. I could see that family. I was thinking, I was thinking because Mankind is such a linguist, he just speaks Vader's language in grunts, and that's how they communicate.
Right.
It's
I
almost
get
like
that.
learning, like how Chewbacca talks, and they just talk
Mm,
normally to him. That's kind of
right.
sometimes what I envision.
Wow. Yeah. No,
You
no,
guys tell us your thoughts. What do you think goes on in that room, I
no,
guess?
honestly, like give me a sample conversation
Paint me a picture.
between Vader and Mankind. Let me know. Like I'm thoroughly curious. So after that though, we get a very interesting interview with uh Dustin and Terri Runnels, which is Goldust and Marlena, for those of you who don't know.
Mm,
And I'm addressing them as such because it is them in their like normal garb. Like that is
Mm-hmm.
Dustin Runnels. So very, very interesting. Essentially, he talks about like growing up in the shadow of the American dream, Dusty Rhodes, and it is very similar to things Cody Rhodes has also said.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that when you're like a kid, they wanted to essentially just be. He's everything they wanted to be because that's when your father's like a real life superhero, and honestly, one of the best to ever like do it. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're gonna obviously hold him on a pretty high like pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, as that goes on and you grow up and you want to kind of make a name for yourself or be your own person, you can kind of grow to resent that.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least you resent their father's standing as far as the wrestling business goes. Because and Dustin, would they even like show it like had a has been wrestling for quite a while at this point. He's wrestled in WCW. He did the territory thing. He wrestled in WWF early days, under his own like name. But because he looked so much like his father and was always associated with his father, he could never like break off on his own. He was never going to be um, held, I guess, or yeah, I guess judged on his own merits,
Mm-hmm.
because he was always going to be kind of compared to his father.
Right.
So essentially, then that goes kind of like, so where does he go from there? And that's how the creation of like the Goldust character kind of was born.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty cool. I think this is like the first time we really kind of get kind of insights as far as like somebody who like plays a character kind of talking about
Yeah.
like, oh no, like it's a character that I put on and this is kind of where it comes from.
Yep.
Which I don't think we've really gotten at all, because really
Not definitely not.
the characters that we have are like Mankind, The Undertaker, and everybody else is really kind of themselves for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, except for like the people that are occupations, but who cares about them.
Mm.
um
T.
so essentially he goes at one point he was like, I couldn't have my own identity, so I like made up this like over the top like flamboyant, kind of just like for the shock value of it all, because it was so in contrast to kind of what his father had done.
Mm-hmm.
And then they asked him essentially like, did he have any kind of like reservations about like doing that? And he was like, yeah, in the beginning it scared the hell out of me because
Mm-hmm.
you just don't know like how it's going to go, how it's going to be like perceived. They even go on to call out a situation, which I didn't think they would, in
Crazy.
which Razor Ramon, the OG, Scott Hall, like refused to wrestle Goldust because of his like machismo, blah blah blah. And the way that Goldust's character was like presented in a light that is very queer and queer friendly,
Mm-hmm.
that he wouldn't do it. He refused to do it.
That's
uh
crazy.
yeah. Absolutely bonkers. um but this part that like next that kind of like surprised me is he actually goes so far as to like address the fact that like he's like, a lot of like minorities, like gay people, blah blah, have like reached out to me and been like, oh, like I resonate with your character, like there is something about like being the one on the outside, or the freak in the room, that like
Yeah.
people resonate with. And he goes on to be like that he kind of understands that on a certain level, which honestly, like that's an education most straight white men don't get.
Very true.
So
Very
like
true.
the fact that he kind of knows that there's that kind of like responsibility with his character, and then goes so far as to be um like to just be like, God bless them, like to really like address like all of the kind of minority fans that don't get talked about, and just being like, honestly, like, yeah, like that is difficult, and like now I understand what that's like, because like he got spit on because of this character, he got quarters thrown at him because of this character. Like people did not just automatically just accept this as like, oh, like that's fine and like we can just go on about our day. It was like, no, like people reacted as people react, and he had to just stay the course.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty admirable considering he had many options to not, like he could have just gone back to anything else.
Yep.
Um
So
so
true.
they go on to ask they go on to ask him if they think his father's proud, and he goes on to reveal that they haven't really spoken in a few years. It is very well known, I guess it is well known at this point, that Dustin had a more rocky relationship with his father than, let's say, Cody did. There's an age gap as well as like a different mothers kind of situation.
I did
But
not know this. I did not
but
know any of
oh,
this.
fun fact. So they're, they Dusty got divorced from Dustin's mother, gets remarried. But at the point in Dusty's career where Cody was around or like was young, uh Dusty was just uh able to be more physically around, because
Mm,
he was later on in his career,
right.
he was like, so he was just more present. But during like all pretty much all of Dustin's childhood, Dusty was at like the height of his career. So he was, and as we know, wrestlers are gone like
Mm-hmm.
300 days of the year. And when you're a kid, you don't you can't explain that. Like you
No,
can't
of
like
course. Yeah,
you
no
can
way.
try and like whatever, but there's going to be kind of like resentments there regardless, because um you know regardless of how great Dusty Rhodes is, he's still, to be that great, you have to sacrifice in other areas. And unfortunately, that kind of meant bits and pieces of his relationship with his child.
Yep.
So,
Many things
um,
can be true at once. We
yes,
say that all the
absolutely.
time.
So basically he goes on to just say like, I hope that I have like proved everybody wrong, that I did everything that people said I couldn't do, and that my dad is proud. I don't know, but if you're out there watching, I'm taking care of my family, the way that you have always taught us to take care of our family. So like I don't he's like, I can't say for sure, but I hope so. And then we are apparently going to get a second part to that.
Thank
Um,
God.
yeah, thoughts? I thought this was very cool. I liked
So
this a lot.
cool. Yeah, the peek behind the character, the curtain, whatever, what have you, I mean, is fascinating. And the
Hmm.
fact that they spent time to do this is, I feel like, wonderful
Hmm.
and interesting. And like, obviously to like it's nice because I feel like it doesn't ruin it's I think we've probably talked about this, but you fear that it's going to ruin the illusion of the character, but it's like we're already there, so like don't like let's not insult people's intelligence by like pretending that this person is
Hmm.
literally Goldust 24/7,
Right.
especially because we know it's Dustin. So like
Right.
I don't
And
know, I kind of like that approach to it.
yeah, and I feel like it just I feel like it adds like a layer to Goldust, because now there is like a
Without a doubt.
now there's like a motivation behind uh the everything. There is it is not just kind of like a, oh, this dude's just like weird for the sake
A
of being
freak.
like
Yeah.
weird. It's like no, I'm going to be as different as I can be, and I'm gonna make you come along for the ride, which is pretty impressive.
So impressive. I completely agree. It's crazy. And I feel like it's a story that whether you like it or not, a lot of people relate to, like
Hmm.
just like with your parents and sibling, just that whole feeling of just like you feel like you need to stand out to like make your
Hmm.
way in the world regardless of, you know, race, creed, sexual orientation, like anything, like that feeling of just like needing to make your way in the world. And like
Hmm.
the fact that he was willing to do so much. His and Terri, his wife, was supportive and like willing to do it with him. Like, I just
Hmm.
feel like it's kind of like if you have your support system, you can pretty much do anything. And
Right.
like, obviously, if you believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing enough, you can also like really
Right.
take it there if you feel like it,
Hmm.
regardless. So I
Yes,
love
it's
that.
just I know exactly, and I was really not expecting like Goldust to be the person that we like deep dive into, but I'm here
Yeah.
for it. because like,
so here for it.
but
So here for it.
I'm very excited for part 2. We'll see where we go from here. Because I would love this to then lead into kind of seeing Goldust in a more not like serious capacity, because I do like when he's like, ridiculous. But
Yes.
taken more seriously, I guess.
Yeah. Like people want I want more people to have stake in his game.
Correct.
Yes.
So next we get another cutaway to the Hart Foundation looking for Shawn Michaels. They are standing outside of a men's bathroom, just ready to jump. And
everyone's new favorite thing.
They fully jump some poor gentleman, because it is not Shawn Michaels. But the funny part is when they realize that it is not Shawn Michaels, they all just kind of like stop and then continue. They're like, all right, well, I mean, he's here anyway.
We're already
So
here. He's a warm body we can punch.
no, fully. I was like,
So
okay.
crazy.
I was like, poor guy.
Poor random guy who just had long hair.
Chose the wrong bathroom.
I know. He was just
So
trying to get some
sorry,
peace.
friends. So sorry. So next we get Crush taking on I just go Crush versus 3 randoms. So these big bad wrestlers that were lauded about by Farouk earlier in the evening turned out to be just jobbers. One of which was pretty sure was in just how do I say this, lingerie.
He was definitely in like bartender at an S&M like warehouse bar. Something like it was really, and I think even Vince said, and what an interesting costume
right
he
no
is wearing.
I was like that man. I was like, baby, you went to the adult shop, didn't you?
For sure. There was a lot of crisscrosses. I'll just say that. Crisscrosses on bearskin.
Right.
I'll just say that.
It how do I, for those of you who aren't gonna go and watch this, I'm gonna like describe it as just like hoochie lederhosen. Like it was essentially like that. Like
Wait, that's 100% it. No, it for sure was. If he had one of those jaunty little hats,
game over.
He's at the Biergarten. Like he's 100%
game over. Yeah. So it was so Crush,
I'm sorry,
absolutely annihilates the first guy. Absolutely he heart punches Franz or whatever his name is. And then we get a kind of masked competitor as our last competitor, and we're like, all right, who did?
Legit in a stocking cap.
Fully like the criminals in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just like a full just like stalking. Comes out and immediately sets up Crush in the Pearl River Plunge, delivers it, gets the pinfall victory, scoots his ass out, unmasks, and just like a Scooby-Doo episode, it is Ahmed Johnson.
Would have gotten away with it too.
Oh,
for
so
you
good.
meddling nation members.
So ridiculous.
Oh my god, so funny.
I loved that.
10 out of
First
10.
of all, that the big bad booty daddies that Farouk was out here just like bragging about ended up being absolutely nothing.
2 basic white men.
No,
like that.
Actually,
sorry, but that's just the truth.
Like, save me from that blind date. And then
I'm climbing out the bathroom window. It is treacherous. Someone call me with an emergency.
No, 100%. I'm ailing and I need someone to save me. Okay. Because the way that he was just like, he's like, these are the baddest, most hardened. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Jelly Bean 1 and 2? Get out of here. Like, I'm so insulted that you wasted my time with an in-match cutaway to be talking about how Crush is gonna just show Ahmed Johnson like what he's up against. I was like, that is what you're gonna tell me that Ahmed Johnson is up against? Well then, have fun.
Done it, then say goodbye to the nation, because it's a wrap. crap.
No,
That's
actually,
it. If
that
that's
was
all you got, that's crazy.
100%. First of all, you got like more impressive stooges just in your group, not moving. Like, why didn't you
Let's
use one of
talk
them?
about
And I'm
it.
not talking about the two idiots with the microphone either.
We knew that. We
Send
knew,
D'Lo in there.
dude. You know I was thinking about D'Lo. Send D'Lo in there. First of all, D'Lo takes so many hits for you people. The least you could do is get him out there.
Right.
Like,
You
that
are
is
not
great.
wrong. You are not incorrect. The
No, but
way
really, Farouk overhyped this blind date for
no
real.
100%.
We are
And
not friends anymore.
no, you get no say in any future dates for none.
You are
You are
done.
revoked.
I didn't want to go in the first place, but I only went because you sold it to me this way, and now I'm embarrassed.
No, 100%. I
Unbelievable.
besmirched anyway.
Okay, bring back the casual use of besmirched, first of all. First and foremost. Wow.
Second, we move on to the Hart Foundation, who's still looking for Shawn, only now they've gone outside. They're just
In the parking lot. They're
And not
looking
only
under the trucks.
in the parking lot, like fully as if Shawn is just like holding on to the bottom of a truck, just like for dear life. I was like, this man is a professional wrestler, not a spy. What
Yeah,
is
like what? Yeah, he's not like trying to commit espionage. Like he's literally here to wrestle. It is so funny. They're like, Chuck Bret Hart is sitting in the wheelchair, like check under that truck over there. I know he's out here. And it's
no
like
fully putting on his
car to
best retail
car.
manager, just like
Sweat
he's like over
this
there.
over there, those shirts need to be refolded and like 400 keys on a ring. Those
No.
shirts need to be refolded. Thank you. That
I was like, what, your fingers don't work?
beyond. I'm saying, meanwhile, Shawn Michaels could have been sitting in the crowd. They didn't
Fully.
check. They checked 3 locker rooms and then immediately went, well, he must be outside.
Right.
The arena, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We know.
Crazy. Unbelievable.
So, much to the just absolute just ineptitude of the Hart Foundation, Shawn Michaels makes his way out to the ring. Like, not only does he make his way out to the ring, he does the entire intro. Vince McMahon does a yelling introduction. He has the pyro. He takes his suit jacket off, does his pyro bit, and then has Vince McMahon put the jacket back on. You know how much time you have to do all of this? Do you know how like absolutely blind you have to be looking for one specific person, and then the person you're looking for just goes out in front of a crowd of whatever, like 17,000 or however many people were there, and all of America, and you still can't find him? Like, you are somebody should have put some, like, they should have stopped wrestling all of those little children in the Hart Dungeon and given them a Where's Waldo, because they're all blind.
No.
Like,
have them do some puzzles. Like, let's exercise that part of the brain.
No,
because
100%.
when the person you're looking for is announced over microphone and his music is blaring through the speakers, and you're still like, I just think he might have left. I don't.
Yeah, I just
have no idea. I've looked everywhere. Where could he possibly be?
And mind you, like, the man is like just fresh off of like a knee injury.
An injury. It's not like he's running.
That's what I'm saying. He's like hopping at most. You know what I mean? Like he's like just guys.
He's not clinging to the rafters. He's not, climbing up from whatever pit. Like
we're gonna need to regroup. We're gonna have to ask for some some microscopes, telescopes,
but not just glasses. Maybe let's just even start with glasses. Maybe some of you cannot
honestly
see.
Because y'all fumbling around here like 5 Velmas on the floor. Just like
I can't see without my glasses.
No, literally, just 5 Velmas ain't found a damn thing except the wrong guy that they beat up outside a bathroom.
Oh my God. I guess it's time to start praying again. Maybe you need to pray to St. Anthony to help you find that man, because
100%.
I don't understand. And he just walks out so easy,
just
man.
Walks out.
Man.
So basically he addresses Stone Cold Steve Austin, he being Shawn Michaels. At this point, I realize I should probably be better about my proper nouns. Shawn addresses Stone Cold and essentially is like, hey, not here to help you. Don't really care about you. Not really trying to be in your crosshairs right now. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
you are not my focus.
Mm-hmm.
Just know that I cannot promise that I will not be out there again. Because essentially he's like, my name is in their mouth just as much as yours is. So
Mm-hmm.
we got the same enemy. So if I come out there, I come out there. It's not to help you, it's to hurt them. Do what you will with
Yep.
that.
You beefing with my enemy does not make you a friend to me.
No, one I love that.
That's what Sweetie said. Thank you, girl.
Thank you. So he basically goes on to talk about how like it's a trend to kind of just like hate on the fans. And he goes, I don't follow trends, I set them. So I guess it's time for me to just start kissing some butt. Um,
Unbelievable.
he calls out the Hart Foundation. He's like, you may run in a pack, but the clique runs in a herd. The clique is the little group name for him, Triple H, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and X Pac. That's like their
Okay,
kind
did
of.
not know this.
They weren't like an official like on
Group.
on TV group. They were kind of like a group like backstage that was like kind of well known.
I
And
see.
during this time, like the time we're at, the two companies are essentially run by the clique. Like the top performers on both companies were all in the clique. So Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were running WCW
Mm-hmm.
while Shawn was down here being like the top guy in WWF like at the same time. So like
Mm.
they and we'll watch this documentary at some point. But they talk about like uh how funny it is that like only wrestling fans and like Vince McMahon and Tim and Ted Turner were like at each other. He's like, my best friends and my best friends were literally
Mm-hmm.
running the two most prominent companies in the like field that we work in. He's like, nobody lost here. Like
Yeah,
we were
seems
we
lit. I
were
don't know.
rooting for each other. Like this was not a thing. But essentially he's referring to the clique, not just like the people in them, but as far as like all of their fans go also.
I see,
That's
I
kind
see,
of
I
what
see.
he addresses like once they left, he started addressing kind of like the clique as like the all of the fans that support
I
him.
see.
So that's what he means, like he's like we run in a herd, like he's outnumbered.
I see.
So uh it is announced that he will make his in-ring return at the King of the Ring, which is going to be in a
Love.
month from where we are currently, which is also fun because that is a full circle for the podcast because
It
that is
is.
we started directly after the King of the Ring, so we are going to be about a full wrestling year from when we started, which is pretty cool.
It's
Pretty cool.
so cool. I'm so excited.
Um
And it'll be like another milestone still, because like I still haven't seen a King of the Ring.
no, yeah, you haven't seen a King of the Ring tournament yet.
You
So
guys, a year in and we're still having first.
oh, we're gonna have lots. We're gonna have lots.
Love.
And they actually just brought back the King of the Ring tournament this year.
I
Um,
did. I saw
it actually
that.
just was this past weekend. So very, very fun. Yeah,
So exciting.
yeah. So basically Shawn goes on to just be like, Brett likes to complain about the American fans, but he doesn't mind making that American money, does he? So
Honestly,
he's
that's
not
a
wrong.
read.
That is a
That is a
read.
read because when you start getting into like, because Bret Hart's arguments are like, you're flamboyant, you're annoying, you're whatever, and Bret and Shawn Michaels is like, okay, yeah, but you are claiming you hate America, but you get that USD. So
Right.
who's real? Like when
100%.
you get into like the facts, like the nitty gritty, like that's when you really take somebody down.
No,
That's
that's what I'm
crazy.
saying. He goes, I've had it up to here with all of the whining and the crying. Um, and he goes like he addresses the Hart Foundation. He's like, I'm not hard to find. Like I
Uh,
am not. So wherever you
literally.
are, by all means. Then Shawn's music hits. He starts making his exit, and that's when Bret Hart shows up on the Titantron, the handy dandy, comes out and just starts, addressing Shawn. Shawn takes off his shirt at one point, and Bret goes like, "Is that for the guys or the girls?" And I was like, "Baby, both."
But I
Uh,
think I literally wrote that. I literally go, it's for everyone. Thanks for asking.
It's for everyone. He is an
Everyone here.
equal opportunity hoe. Like
That
he's just a show up. Like I don't think
that's
he really
it.
cares.
That's it. He mostly does it for himself. He's not even, we are just a byproduct of witnessing it.
No,
Like, that's
100%.
it.
So then Bret Hart essentially asks Shawn if he will accept a challenge from Jim the Anvil Neidhart, like right here, right now. And Shawn's like, come and get it.
Sure.
So of course, Jim the Anvil Neidhart comes out like seemingly alone. Then it's Owen. Then it's the Bulldog. Then it's
Mm-hmm.
3-on-1.
It's a trap.
And then the Legion of Doom comes out to help because they have a title match against Owen and the British Bulldog. And then the Hart Foundation gets chased out of the arena, and then Shawn is the one on the hunt. He starts chasing after them. So basically that's kind of where we're left as far as that goes. Shawn is in pursuit of the Hart Foundation, and Bret is somewhere with Pillman,
Mm-hmm.
while Anvil and the tag team champions are just speeding away.
Mm-hmm.
So next we get a rematch from last week with Philip LaFon and Doug Furnas taking on the Legion of Doom. Basically, we get a kind of like quick interview before where they're basically asked about the last week's match, and essentially they go, everybody knows we did not lose that match fair and square. Essentially, for those of you who do not remember, did not listen last week, they lost the match, but they were technically pinned by the illegal man, so it's not it's just not a like clean victory. So they do get to claim kind of that. So that's why we're running it back this week. Basically, it is kind of lauded that both teams are really, really big in Japan. They both are, again, Japanese wrestling is much more technical in the same way that Doug Furnas and Philip LaFon are very technical. And the LOD just has charisma everywhere. Everybody just kind of
So
is
true.
So so the match continues. It's well contested, same as last week. We do get we get a lot of back and forth. They're very like evenly matched teams. But they do get a cutaway during the match to which the Hart Foundation and and Shawn Michaels rather are being separated in the back because they have managed to find each other. And that's when the Stone Cold has arrived in the building at some point during this fight to just kind of like jump into the chaos. So
he walks in the door and goes, "Oh, we're fighting!" Ba ba ba. Like he
love
just
that. I
he's just like,
love that energy though.
love,
That energy,
love.
the energy of just like, oh, okay, is amazing. Is absolutely spectacular. But
All right,
shoot, say
just
less.
hearing
No, he said say less and
say
jumped right
I
in.
love it. Also, I'm just saying the way Shawn Michaels found Bret Hart in 14 seconds.
Honestly,
14 seconds. And you guys, with your team of 5 individuals, couldn't find him at all.
in and out. Yeah, at
At
all.
all.
Lost.
At all.
Amazing. So
And then Stone Cold just walked in. You guys are right there. Papa. Love to see
amazing.
it.
But literally, it's like he got like a radar.
He did. He's like, bing, 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 bing.
Found the
Honed in.
assholes.
Somebody's fighting. He's like, somebody's fighting. I gotta get in there. I love him so much.
Amazing, truly. So the British Bulldog and Owen Hart make their way down to the ringside area where they cause enough of a distraction that it allows Furnas and LaFon to pick up the victory, and then it's just more chaos. It's just more chaos.
Fighting.
They cut back to the fight before they all get like actually like separated. And like Shawn is on the floor, like Austin's like beating up like people out of the frame. I'm like, this is nuts.
So
And then
wild.
and then from that segment, gong rings. The Undertaker comes out because he's got some grievances. Someone took his title and he is not happy about it.
Daddy Undertaker is livid. Where is his belt, sweetie?
So he comes out, he's like, I am the champion. He's like, I am the defender of the belt. Basically, he's like, somebody has taken it upon themselves to steal it. And then he addresses them directly. He goes, Mr. Soon to be dearly departed. And I was like, damn. I was like, okay.
Crazy.
He's like, you may have the belt, but you are no champion. And I was like,
Cutting.
ouch,
Owie.
ouch.
Ow.
And
Oof.
he's like, basically, all you've done is start a very deadly game. And he's like, and my patience is wearing thin. And you're like,
Mm.
it's just the way that he's so calm about it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, you
he
can
scared
tell
me.
he's like absolutely fuming, but it's just there's just like a comfortableness in the rage that you're just like, oh my god, like
Mm.
you're just like, okay, I'm scared and a little turned on, like I'm
Yeah,
confused.
no, fully.
um
Fully.
Basically he goes on to be like, it was a bad time to cross into the valley of the dead. uh you are going to pay and pay dearly, because by the end of this night you will rest in peace. I will have my title back. And he does address Stone Cold, where he's like, so he basically goes on to just be like, I respect your like intensity and like your passion, but it's going to be a cold day in hell if you think you're going to take that from me. um
I mean,
and I love to see it, because
mm,
it gives Stone Cold his little kudos, but he's like, but let's not mince words here.
yeah, let's not get it twisted.
Right.
It's
He's
still
like,
my belt. Miss
mine.
for me. Like he literally gave me chills. Like, because at one point he
Mhm.
was doing the promo directly into the camera.
Oh,
Vince didn't even
very
ask him
fourth wall
anything.
break.
Vince just gave him the mic and was like, bye girl, and like left as he should. And he literally, I felt like he was staring into my soul, and I legitimately went like shivered. I was like, oh
I
God,
get
he is
that.
so scary. He's
So
so
scary.
scary. And like the man's never done a bad promo in his life. I
No,
mean,
absolutely
we were
not.
saying that about Shawn Michaels too, or like his promo before. I mean, they've just never done a bad promo in their life. I'm just always hype, always
No,
ready.
they know exactly what to say, when to say it. They know when it's like too much or too little. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
complete wrestlers.
Oh, so good.
So next we get our main event match, which is the British Bulldog taking on Stone Cold Steve Austin. It starts off a little like confusing, because the British Bulldog doesn't come out for like 5 minutes of his music
Mm-hmm.
just playing. We're like, hello, but I get it. He was probably just in one of the many rooms that he was in, trying to like retrace his steps, find his gear. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes his way out. Stone Cold, where am I going with this? Stone Cold comes out, and we do. I'll go back. We had a kind
I
of
was gonna say
we had a
we
mini
need to talk
moment.
about this.
Okay, we had a mini moment right before, where they dragged Sunny out. I say dragged because it was only for 2.5 seconds, to just basically be like a model for the Steve Austin like shirt. Um,
Mm-hmm. The Austin 316 shirt,
yeah,
yeah.
just she just comes out wearing the Austin 316 shirt, makes it like kind of the end of the aisle, goes back up to the top of the aisle, leaves.
Okay.
Uh, Go
But
ahead.
we need to talk about this because the way Xavier aired me out while we were watching this is so severe and so crazy. And you guys need to understand
Okay.
because I thought she was coming out maybe to do commentary. Maybe she was trying to, she's wearing the Austin 316 shirt. I was like, oh, is she going to try and recruit Austin? You know, she's kind of been in the wings. She's kind of been not
Mhm.
doing anything, like whatever. So she comes out and she's wearing the t-shirt, like a little mini dress, and she's got the white go-go boots on and just a little panty on. And I was like, oh my God, honestly, she looks so cute. And Xavier just goes, okay, she's wearing a t-shirt. Like, not that exciting. Like, really, like, I
Just
was
a
like, what do
t-shirt.
you know? And he goes, no, no, she's a glorified mannequin. They're having her come out and walk uppy downy, and then she's going back in in her little cabinet. Like, she's
Right.
literally just wearing a t-shirt and boots. Like, you need to get a grip. And I was like,
I'm so
and then,
sorry.
to add insult to injury, I was dead. Stone Cold comes out and he goes, look, he's wearing the same outfit.
He's wearing the same fit. It like he said, which who wore it best, guys? Who wore it best?
Someone's gonna have to go home and change because they were literally wearing the same outfit. Like,
Yeah, it was great. Just little
oh my
boots,
God, it was so funny.
little
Really, Xavier was
t-shirt.
like, come at me with something better because this was not it. But the when she did, I will say it is dehumanizing that they literally had her come out in a t-shirt and panties and then to just
Just
like wiggle her ass around and then go back
leave. Never to.
just to advertise the
We don't
shirt.
even
That
let
is
her
a little.
talk anymore.
No, yeah, we've
Like,
completely made her just the body. That is really crazy.
which is not like, don't get me wrong, like I love to like hate on Sunny, but she was a heel manager. That was the point. Like, we
No,
were
that
supposed to
really,
hate
that was
on
her character.
Sunny.
You're supposed to. Yeah, this is a little demoralizing, I won't lie. She just
No,
like comes out
fully.
and just shakes her
The
tits,
way they
shakes
just
her
like
ass.
replaced her with Sable and said, move on
And
is,
to be real, we don't even see Sable that much.
well,
We
that's
kind
because
of
Mark
got.
Miro's injured.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we haven't seen
That's
Sable
right.
because
That's
technically
annoying. Bring her out here
Mark
anyway.
the, listen, we know
We
Mark
know,
Miro's the
you
dead weight of
know.
this team. Let's
That's
not.
what I'm saying. Let's be so real.
So,
Yeah, that was crazy.
but that does lead to a hilarious line from Jerry the King Lawler, in which he goes,
Crazy.
if Sable only had one leg and slipped on a banana peel, she wouldn't fall for you. And I died. I was like, that is so mean. That is so
So
mean.
mean because it was so descriptive.
No,
Sometimes
fully.
a little goes a long way, but sometimes you have to make these insane analogies to like
Mm,
really just drive home how little value you have to me.
right. I get that.
That is, if Sunny had one leg and stepped on a banana peel, she wouldn't fall for you.
Cold.
Wow.
So cold.
It's vicious.
So
Vicious.
the match is very evenly contested for the most part. Really in the beginning, it like Stone Cold is like out wrestling the British Bulldog, which is not what,
Bizarre.
yeah, which is not what I was expecting the match to kind of
Mm-hmm.
like start out. I really just thought it was going to be just like a straight up brawl from rip to rip.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Stone Cold picks up the victory with a stunner, and then of course all of the Hart Foundation comes out. It's Owen and the Bulldog. Owen's like hitting Stone Cold with the WWF title belt. So we come to find that it was I guess Owen who stole it from the Undertaker.
Bold.
Bold. And
So
then
bold.
just in true last Raw before a pay-per-view fashion, it just tumbles into a feud of everybody that you can even think of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Owen and the Bulldog beating up on Stone Cold. Then the Road Warriors come out, and then Phil LaFawn and Doug Furnace come out, which was also very confusing because like couldn't tell whose side they were on because one of them was fighting like the Legion of Doom, and the other one was fighting Owen Hart. And I was
Made
like,
no
wait a
sense.
minute. One of you is making a mistake, and I don't know which one it
No,
is.
I feel like full on there was a miscommunication there.
Fully a miscommunication because they were definitely supposed to be helping the Hart Foundation,
Yeah.
and not what was happening. And then Shawn Michaels comes out, and then the Undertaker comes out, and because he realizes that his title is out here, and he's like, "Oh damn,
He said,
okay."
somebody ring that bell right now and turn the lights off. I have to go to work.
100%.
Unbelievable.
And he was working overtime. So
Mm-hmm.
he comes out, starts just nailing everybody within sight. They clear the ring of the Hart Foundation, and then we have this moment where Stone Cold ends up like grabbing the title belt, and he's kind of like talking smack while he's like holding it. The Undertaker realizes that that Stone Cold is holding the belt and grabs it and snatches it out of his hand, like which is so forceful. He was like, that's mine, thank you very much.
Excuse me.
And then like you can kind of tell there's like a little like exchange where Austin was like, wasn't me, like did not take that. And Undertaker does the just like classic, like throws the belt down in between them, gives us the hair flip, and it's like, what?
And what?
And what? He's like, this is what you want, right? That the belt, is that what you wanted? And he's like, I'm right here. And you're like, ooh, 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 cannot wait. And then they go at
Cannot
it,
wait.
and then they go at it, and it's
They're
beautiful.
brawling.
It's beautiful. It ends with just Stone Cold getting like yeeted into some ring steps,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the referees just doing their best to even attempt to break it up because every time the Undertaker looks at them, they pee. They they're so weak.
So upset, so
Um,
scared.
So yeah, so that is where we are left on the road to In Your House, A Cold Day in Hell.
It's such a good name. I'm so happy they went with that. And everyone was
Mm-hmm.
able to plug it like kind of effectively. Like it'll
Mm-hmm.
be a cold day in hell if you think you're gonna beat me.
Right,
And it
right,
wasn't
right.
overdone. I liked
Mm-hmm.
it.
No, no,
Oh
no,
my
I
God.
agree.
I can't wait to see everybody fight.
Amen.
So exciting.
All right, guys. So that has been another edition of the New to Wrestling podcast. As always, we appreciate wherever you guys find us. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all of those fun
Do
things
all
because
the
it does help
things.
us out. If you are a fan of our After Dark series, this weekend we are going to be doing an episode on Bam Bam Bigelow. And if you missed last week, you didn't miss one last week because it was a holiday weekend, but the episode prior was on the Dynamite Kid. So if you are a fan of that series, look out for those, and we will catch you next time.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye.